Once lived a man named Lucas. Lucas was known throughout the town as a hard-working and kind-hearted man. However, despite his outward appearance of contentment, he carried a heavy burden. He had reached a point in his life where everything seemed to have lost its meaning. His days blurred into one another, filled with routine tasks that left him feeling empty and unfulfilled. One crisp autumn morning, as Lucas sat on the porch of his modest home, sipping his coffee, he noticed an elderly man slowly making his way up the path. The man, with a weathered face and a walking stick, had a presence that was both calming and intriguing. He approached Lucas with a gentle smile and introduced himself as Ezra, a traveler who had spent his life wandering the world in search of wisdom. Sensing there was something special about Ezra, Lucas invited him to sit and share a cup of coffee. As they sat together watching the golden leaves fall from the trees, Ezra began to speak in a soft, melodic voice. "Life is a journey, Lucas," he said. "Along the way, we encounter lessons that have the power to change us, if only we take the time to learn them." Curious, Lucas leaned in, eager to hear what Ezra had to say. The old man smiled knowingly, and then he began to share 5 life lessons that had transformed his own life. Ezra began, "The first lesson is to embrace change. Life is in a constant state of flux, and nothing remains the same forever. Many people resist change out of fear, but it is through change that we grow. I once met a woman in a faraway land who had lost everything in a fire: her home, her possessions, her livelihood. She was devastated, but instead of succumbing to despair, she embraced the change that had been forced upon her. She started anew, building a life even richer in meaning than before. She taught me that change, though often painful, is a doorway to new possibilities." Lucas nodded, reflecting on all the times he had resisted change, clinging to the familiar out of fear of the unknown. He realized that this fear had kept him stuck in his current state of dissatisfaction. Ezra continued, "The second lesson is to live with gratitude. We often focus on what we lack, rather than appreciating what we have. I once lived in a village where the people had very little, just enough to survive, but they were the happiest people I had ever met. Every day, they expressed gratitude for the small things: the warmth of the sun, the laughter of children, the taste of fresh bread. Their joy came not from what they owned, but from their attitude of thankfulness." Lucas thought about how often he had taken his blessings for granted: the roof over his head, the food on his table, and the love of his family. He resolved to begin each day with a heart full of gratitude, recognizing the abundance in his life. Ezra explained that the third lesson is to forgive and let go. Holding on to anger and resentment only poisons the soul. "I met a man who had spent decades harboring hatred for someone who had wronged him in his youth. It consumed him, turning him bitter and unhappy. It wasn't until he found the strength to forgive that he was able to find peace. Forgiveness is not about excusing the wrong, but about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying it." Lucas felt a pang of guilt as he remembered the grudges he had held onto for years, grudges that had hardened his heart. He knew that forgiveness was the key to releasing himself from the chains of the past. Ezra smiled as he shared the fourth lesson: "Follow your passion. Life is too short to spend it doing something you don't love." I once met an old man who had spent his entire life working a job he hated just to make ends meet. On his deathbed, he confessed that his biggest regret was not pursuing his passion for painting. He had spent his life chasing security, but in the end, it was his unfulfilled dreams that haunted him. Whatever your passion is, pursue it with all your heart, for it is there that you will find true fulfillment. Lucas felt a stirring in his soul. He had always dreamed of becoming a writer, but he had pushed that dream aside in favor of a stable job. Ezra's words reignited that dream, reminding him that it was never too late to follow his passion. Finally, Ezra spoke of the fifth lesson: love unconditionally. Love is the most powerful force in the universe, and it is through love that we connect with others and find meaning in our lives. I once met a mother who had lost her son in a tragic accident. Her grief was overwhelming, but she chose to channel her love into helping others who were suffering. She opened her heart to everyone she met, offering kindness and compassion. In return, she found healing and purpose. Love freely, without expecting anything in return, and you will find that your life is filled with joy. Lucas felt tears welling up in his eyes as he thought of the people in his life whom he had loved with conditions attached. He realized that true love was not about what he could get, but what he could give. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the town, Ezra stood to leave. "Remember these lessons, Lucas," he said, "for they have the power to change your life." Lucas watched as the old man walked away, disappearing into the twilight. He sat in silence for a long time, reflecting on the wisdom Ezra had shared. He knew that he had been given a gift, a chance to start anew, armed with the knowledge that could transform his life. From that day forward, Lucas embraced change with courage, lived each day with gratitude, forgave those who had wronged him, pursued his passion for writing, and loved unconditionally. His life, once filled with monotony and emptiness, became rich with purpose and joy. He realized that the lessons Ezra had shared were not just words, but truths that had the power to change everything. In the end, Lucas found that the journey of life, with all its twists and turns, was more beautiful than he had ever imagined. We are unique, priceless, and irreplaceable, and the sum of every experience. Our most important relationship is with ourselves, because it is through that relationship that we learn how to truly love other people, including our children. By demonstrating how to love ourselves, we can experience the most joy in our lives. Subscribe for more videos. Thank you.